Hi, Jasleen. How are you?
Hi, Steph. I'm doing well. How are you?
Really good, thanks. Thanks so much for making the time to chat.
Yeah, I'm so excited for this.
Great. So I thought it would just be fun to have a chance to learn a little bit more about your experience with Tapestry over the summer as our summer associate, and just share what you've learned and what's been exciting and what's challenged you over the past few months.
Yes, absolutely. Let's do it.
Great. So I have a few questions that I wanted to ask you. I guess first, maybe you could start off by telling us a little bit about yourself and how you learned about Tapestry or how you became connected to us.
Okay, yes. So I just finished my second year at Western University in London, Ontario, and I was studying social sciences there, but now I'm going to be transferring to UBC this year and actually going back to year 2 again to continue my Bachelor of Commerce degree, hopefully with more of a focus on social impact and the nonprofit space in general, because that's more of what my interests are aligned with, whereas at Western, they didn't really have that specialization there. So I'm really excited to be transferring to UBC. I'm also born and raised in Vancouver, so it's nice to be back at home with the ocean, the mountains, and with my family, so I'm super excited for that. In terms of how I got connected with Tapestry, I honestly just was on like a huge summer job hunt in the beginning, close to the beginning of the year. And I did a Google search of like summer jobs and social impact organizations and just trying to find something that, well, one, somebody who would take students, number two, who would hire during COVID because a lot of companies are struggling. And then also number three, something that was relatively or like somewhat aligned with my interest of social impact. So it was really difficult to come across an organization that could check all three of those boxes. And I got super lucky with getting this position at Tapestry. I just came across the organization on Google, and then I emailed like the generic information email that Tapestry has. And I had a conversation with Ryan, the executive director, who was so kind to offer to have a like 30-minute chat with me to talk about what I was looking for, my schooling, my goals, etc. So that was really nice. And I feel like after that conversation, it was the moment that I realized that Tapestry is the place that I wanted to be at this summer. And after that, I just did the application, like did an interview process, and then landed the position.
Well, it was very lucky for us because we've loved having you over the summer, and we're sad to see you leave. Maybe you can share with us what you think has been the most interesting part of your summer experience, and what you really enjoyed learning about Tapestry or about the work that Tapestry does.
So I've done some work with nonprofits and like social good organizations before, I guess. But most of the time it's kind of been in a volunteer capacity or a lot of work with youth. I've done a lot of different things with youth, whether it's after school programs or starting my own program. So I feel like I have a lot of experience in that part of social impact, but I haven't really had any experience in the social finance side of things, which is what I wanted to learn more about. And that's why I got to learn at Tapestry. I got to learn all about social finance. So it's like the perfect intersection between corporate finance, like banks, but then also still having that social impact side and wanting to do good for others. So I find that it's the perfect blend of like both worlds. And that's why I really like it, because I still get to feel like I'm doing really meaningful work with Tapestry and all the organizations that Tapestry supports. At the same time, it's also producing a financial return for people, which ultimately you need that to survive. You need money to live. So it still has both of those elements or those worlds together. So I feel like that has been the coolest thing to learn, is that both of those things are not mutually exclusive. There is a way for them to work together. So that's been really exciting to learn. And then also more specifically, obviously Tapestry is all about community bonds, and that's something that I hadn't even heard of before working with Tapestry. So it's really cool to see that there's this really powerful social finance tool that so many people don't even know about in Canada, and they don't know that they can use it. So I'm excited to have learned about community bonds, how they can be used for nonprofits, charities, and co-ops, and then hopefully bring them to BC and have more organizations here also using them.
Awesome, that's great. What would you say have been sort of like the biggest challenges this summer? What were the toughest things or the steepest learning curve?
Okay, there's a couple of things. Number one, I feel like a lot of people can probably relate to this with the pandemic over the course of the past year and a half now, but working remotely was definitely a challenge, with most of the team being based in Toronto, or at least in Ontario. It was like sometimes people go to the office and like drop stuff off and then go back home where people could see each other every now and then. I just couldn't do that because I can't hop on a flight and like go to Toronto for a couple of days and then come back. So I also find that I'm the type of person who really thrives off of social interaction and talking to other people. I like to feed off of other people's energy, and that gives me energy in return as well. So, I mean, even I guess that's beyond just this work experience, but just in general, being remote and having to stay like isolated in your own little bubble has definitely been tough for me.
Yeah.
The second thing that I would say was a steep learning curve or challenge was facilitating the workshops that Tapestry does for organizations. So in the first workshop, I attended that in my very first week of starting with Tapestry. And at that point, I was just a spectator. I was taking notes on things that we could improve and like areas that I thought maybe we could spend more time on, less time on. And then after that, after just taking notes for one workshop, then I was offered or encouraged to facilitate part of the workshop. So I did the introduction part, and honestly, I didn't expect to facilitate the workshop, so I was kind of thrown off guard a little bit with that. But I mean, it was really exciting for me because I felt like the team really trusted me to take on that role and to facilitate that workshop, even given my limited experience with Tapestry and social finance and community bonds in general. So I felt really honored that I could facilitate part of that workshop. I was like, oh my gosh, you want me to do this? Like, wow, okay.
And you did a great job. You were amazing.
Thanks, Steph. And then so I did the introduction for the first one. And then the second time I facilitated, I got to do more of the actual Community Bonds 101 and teaching the organization, the other people, about what community bonds are for somebody who has absolutely no context or background on them, which was exactly the position I was in just a few weeks prior to that. So that, I think the second workshop was easier for me because I already had some experience with the facilitation side and I knew what to expect. As I was taking on new material that time, again, it was a little bit like, oh my gosh, I'm kind of nervous. Like, I don't know if I'm going to do this great. But I mean, it was really awesome. I had a lot of support from the team and the other, like the organization, the people that were in the workshop were also really sweet. And any questions that they had, it wasn't like they were attacking me or anything. They were really supportive of it. So it was a lot of fun. And I had a great time with facilitating those workshops.
That's great. That's awesome to hear. Do you think that your experience this summer will impact your studies, like which courses you choose to move forward with this year or next year? And do you think it might impact your career path at all?
Absolutely. I definitely think it will. Prior to this summer experience, like I said, I didn't really have any experience in social finance besides, or even like social impact besides the volunteering work that I had done with youth before. So this is completely new to me and I didn't know what to expect. And after the summer experience, I am absolutely in love with it. I love social finance. I love community bonds. I'm really excited now because I feel like I've kind of got the hands-on experience from the work experience. And then now I can take that, what I learned, into the classroom, which is really interesting because usually I feel like it's the other way around, where you learn it in the classroom, then you get to apply it. So I'm excited to take what I've learned throughout the summer and go back to my classes and see like all the linkages and kind of thinking in my head like how what I'm learning in the classroom was being applied in action. So I mean, this upcoming year I have a lot of pretty general classes, so introduction to finance, introduction to marketing, but in my upper years I get to specialize. So I'm already looking at doing like a social impact and sustainability concentration.
Amazing.
Yeah, they have a lot of impact investing classes at UBC. So I don't know, that would just be really cool for me to take. So I'm already thinking about doing that.
Wow, that's great. That's amazing. Well, I know you said that it's been a little strange not, being able to be in the office and have people around, but I do have to say, even though we've never met in person and it's only been online, you've brought such an amazing energy to the team and such a beautiful passion for the impact space. So it's been really an absolute pleasure to work with you. And I think we've learned so much from you as well.
Wow, thank you so much, Steph. That means a lot to me. I appreciate it.
Well, thanks for sharing your summer experiences.
Thanks for having me.